Good evening, teacher. My name is Jan Bora. This is the video presentation for final exam. Okay, and this is the first slide. My name is Jan Bora. My major is English literature, and this is my topic: research, create, explain. A. Sentence fragments. B. Run-on sentences. C. Comma splices and stringy sentences. And now let's look at the detail and explanation of these points. Okay, sentence fragment. What is sentence fragment? As you have learned already about sentence fragment, a sentence fragment is a group of words that is incorrectly punctuated as if were a complete sentence, beginning with an initial capital letter and ending with a period or other end punctuation. It means that you need to uh, write a complete sentence or end with comma or period, sometimes with question mark, exclamation or etc. So that is we call like you use it in incorrectly, that we call sentence fragment. So you need to write in a complete short and complete structure. To be complete, a sentence must contain a subject, a predicate, or complete verb, and function as an independent clause. A sentence must contain a subject. It means that in a sentence, you need to add subject, don't miss the subject. And predicate or complete verb is the action in the sentence. So you need to write it incorrectly, of the correct form, correct tenses, and function as an independent clause. It means that the sentence that can stand alone, that we call simple sentence or compound sentence, that that can stand alone, that complete short. Identifying and correcting sentence fragments. How to know what is the fragment and how to correct it. If you don't know this sentence is fragment or not, so please after you study, after I present, you will know or you will identify what is sentence fragment. Correcting a sentence fragment with a missing subject. So in a sentence, if we don't have subject, that we call like incorrect sentence. So you need to add the correct subject or the right subject. For example, Mitchell came into the room. Okay, we call a sentence or an independent clause. Full stop, close the door. So the second sentence is we don't have subject. So how to do it? We need to conclude an appropriate subject to form an independent clause. So you need to find a subject to add here to form an independent clause. Like you imagine that Michelle is a girl, so you need to add she. Okay, the correction. Michelle came into the room. Full stop. You need to add she, close the door. So we form a new independent clause that we call one sentence and one sentence. Okay, and now uh, you as you know that a sentence when you don't have subject, you need to add subject to form a correct sentence. Note with a command or imperative sentence. What is an imperative sentence? Imperative sentence is a sentence that you don't need to add you, like you want other to do what you want, like such as please stand up, don't go out, please close the door. So you don't need to add subject you, that we like omitted. Okay, that's does not mean that it is don't have subject, but we call imperative sentence. For example here, don't leave the room. So you need to you need to omit you here, subject, and equivalent is of you don't leave the room. So you omit the subject you. Okay, next, correcting a sentence fragment with a missing or incomplete verb. Like you in a sentence you don't have a complete verb or like correctly verb, so you need to see and correct it. For example here, the assembly person in our district. So it is like a phrase, not a sentence, because we don't have verb. We have only subject. Okay, so you need to add verb to form an independent clause. How to? Okay, include a predicate or complete verb to form an independent clause. You need to add complete verb or predicate like verb. Okay, correction. The assembly person in our district works diligently. Okay, so you need to add work here, and diligently we call a complement. Okay, a complement to complete an independent clause. If you don't add verb and complement, this is not a subject or a sentence. We call like phrase or non-phrase. Okay, let's look at the note here. A finite verb is capable of making an assumption without the aid of helping verb. Like you need to add helping verb to form the tenses like present or past or future tenses. So you need to add a helping verb like uh, am is are, was were, like okay, etc. However, a verbal cannot function as the main verb of a clause. Verbs such as working and to work do not change to show tense and are not finite verbs. For example, here you look at the example here. The status located on the second floor of the museum. So it means that the museum cannot like uh, the we call the subject that receive the action from the object that we call passive voice. So you need to add a helping verb to form predicate or complete verb. Okay, for example, the status is located. Okay, you need to add is here. They will call helping verb. Located on the second floor of the museum. Okay, let's look at the note here. Since the status cannot locate itself, so the locate cannot locate. Sorry, the status cannot locate it itself. So you need to form the passive. Okay, the passive tense, indicating someone other than the subject of the sentence. Place it on the second floor of the museum. Passive voice is formed by using a helping verb, am is are, or was verb. It means passive voice must have to be or was verb plus the past participle. That past participle, like we call regular verb that end with d or ed, and some verbs are irregular verb that the last sound of t and n. Okay, so you need to remember about this. Passive voice must have to be and verb three that we call past participle. For example here, she caught by the authorities. She caught by authorities. Caught is the past participle of catch. But you don't have we don't have to be yet. So you need to add a helping verb, to be verb. Okay. How to add a helping verb to form a predicate or complete verb. Correction. Correction, she was caught by the authorities. So you add a verse here that we call to be the helping verb to form a passive tense, okay, passive voice. Correcting a dependent clause fragment. Assuming that independent clause is a sentence that can stand alone, but dependent clause is a clause that cannot stand alone, such as like we start with subordinating conjunction that like or relative pronoun that it cannot stay alone. Okay, stay alone, it means that it's not don't have the complete short, and a main or a dependent clause can stand alone as a complete sentence. Different from dependent cannot stand alone, independent can stand alone. It means that independent have the complete short that we call a complete sentence. However, accept dependent or subordinate clause because it begins with a subordinating conjunction. As you know that the subordinating conjunction such as however, until useless, or although it is the subordinate conjunction. When the sentence start with them with those, it cannot stand alone. It stand by like behind in front of the independent clause. Or relative pronoun. Relative pronouns as which, where, who. Okay, when it is the relative pronoun needs to be attached to an independent clause. Okay. Number five, for example. Okay, look at the example here. After Mary bought the biology book. Okay, so you see the subordinating conjunction here. After, it is not a complete sentence. It's like dependent clause that cannot stand alone. So you need to add an independent clause to form a complex sentence. As you know that complex sentence must contain at least one dependent clause and two and one or more dependent clauses. Okay, here the correction. After Mary bought the biology book, she began studying for her exam. So you need to add an independent clause here to to give the full meaning or the complete short of the sentence here. Run-on sentence. What is run-on sentence? Sentences. Definition. A run-on sentence either has two deep independent clauses or two independent clauses that are not linked correctly. It means that you use the two independent clause that like don't the problem with connection. You don't like use the wrong coordinating conjunction or comma or semicolon, etc. There are two types of run-on sentences: full sentences and comma splices. So you need to separate it, like to identify the two points here. Okay, next slide. One, full sentence. What is full sentence? Definition. A full sentence consists of two independent clauses, but both of the comma and coordinating that aren't linked correctly. For example, look at the example here, you will understand clearly about it. She writes the music, he plays the guitar. So the sentence here is like the two sentences, but we don't have the connection. We don't link it correctly. So you need to add like coordinating conjunction to link it. She writes the music and he plays the guitar are each dependent clause. So the two sentences are independent clauses containing a subject and a verb and expressing complete short. So she writes the music is a complete short. He plays the guitar also the complete short. So it is the two independent clause and we need uh, to link it correctly. He plays the guitar is an independent clause that can stand alone because it expresses a complete short is grammatically correct. Here, subject verbs guitar. Okay, subject verb object. However, in the above example, the independent clause she write the music correctly runs into a second dependent clause. He plays the guitar. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Okay, strategies for correcting full sentences. Okay, the way how to correct it. Okay, how to identify the full sentences. One, create a compound sentence. What does it mean compound sentence? A compound sentence is contain at least two or more independent clauses or main clauses that link or connected by coordinating conjunction or comma or semicolon. Inserting a coordinating conjunction for and nor but or yet so plus a comma correctly links these independent clauses. This sentence structure is called a compound sentence. Okay, two independent clauses that connected by coordinating conjunction. For example here, she writes the music, comma, and he plays the guitar. So you need to add comma and coordinating conjunction and, okay, to separate into clauses, okay, that we call a compound sentence. Okay, independent clause plus comma coordinating conjunction plus independent clause. So remember that coordinating conjunction always come before after comma. So comma come first and then coordinating conjunction. Two, separate independent clauses with a period or capitalization, creating simple sentences. It means that you need to separate it into two sentences, like you need to add full stop or other capitalization that create a simple sentence. Okay, for example here, she write the music, so you separate it in one sentence. Okay, full stop. So it's a sentence we call a simple sentence. And then he plays the guitar. He play the guitar is another simple sentence. So you separate it one for a simple sentence and another one is simple sentence also. So we need to add full stop. Three, insert a semicolon. What is semicolon using? How to use it? Semicolon should be used sparingly and to connect independent clauses whose meanings are closely related. It means that the two sentences are related in the same meaning, like related meaning, related closely meaning. Correct sentence. She write the music for Coldplay. Semicolon. He plays the guitar for the band. So the two sentences are related closely meaning. Okay, so you need to use semicolon. Okay, the next slide. Next slide, number two, comma slide. What is comma slide? Definition. A comma slide consists one of two or more independent clauses that follow one another and are incorrectly linked together only with a comma or commas. Like you in the sentence we need to use only comma or commas. The coordinating conjunction is missing. Okay, let's look at the example. She write the music. Semicolon, he plays the guitar. In the above sentence, a comma separates the two independent clauses, but a coordinating conjunction is also necessary. Okay, strategies for correcting comma slide. Okay, look at number one. Insert a coordinating conjunction to create a compound sentence. Correct sentence. She write the music for Coldplay. So, comma, but he plays the guitar for the band. So we use the need comma and coordinating conjunction. She write the music for Coldplay and he plays the guitar for the band. So you need to add comma and then coordinating conjunction and to give more uh, definition or explanation. Remember, remember that the coordinating conjunction appears after the comma. So here we will have comma and then but if we call coordinating conjunction and then comma and. So and it is the coordinating conjunction. Number nine, insert a semicolon. What is semicolon? Correct, correct sentence. She writes the music for Coldplay. Okay, semicolon. He plays the guitar for the band. So the two sentences are closely related. Okay. Again, to join two independent clauses with a semicolon, be sure that their meanings are closely connected. The tutoring center has a separate handout on semicolon usage. So if the meaning are quite far meaning, so we don't need to add semicolon. But the two sentences are closely meaning, so we need to use uh, semicolon. And the last point, stringy sentences. What is stringy sentences? Okay, a stringy sentence is made up of several complete short strung together with words like and, so, or but. It means that in a sentence you need to add a lot of and, so, or but, and the sentence look like very long. You will forget the meaning, the full meaning of the sentence. When you reach to the end, you will forget the meaning from the beginning. Stingy sentences are so long that reader forgets the beginning of sentence before reaching the end. Okay, so it is long, it is difficult to remember the whole sentences. To fix a stingy sentence, you can break the sentence into two or more sentences. Like you need to separate it or to stop it by using comma. Okay. Oh, sorry, by using full stop. Example: Manita climbed the stair of the haunted house, comma, she knocked on the door several times, but no one answered, comma, and he braced herself, and then she opened the door. So the sentence is also is long, okay, it's long, very long. That are sentence are all independent clause, okay. Correction. Manita climbed the stair of the haunted house. Full stop. We need to stop here. She knocked on the door several times, comma, but no one answered. So we need to add full stop here. Brushing herself, comma, she opened the door. Okay, so it's like called stingy sentences. Okay, and this is the end of a presentation. Okay, finally, I would like to say thank you for the teacher for listening. Okay, thank you, teacher. Goodbye.